If you're watching this video, this is your sign to go pick up some DVDs again. Let's talk about why. First, if you don't know me, I'm Spencer, and I like to talk about simple living, frugality, and cutting down on your technology usage, sometimes through the use of other technologies. So let's get started. So if you've watched my channel before, or if you have any interest in these types of topics, you probably already know that the world of streaming has kind of gone nuts. Now, believe me, there is a litany of complaints that I could level against streaming services nowadays. First off, there is way too many. There is now an innumerable amount of these streaming services, and as a result, content is stratified amongst all these providers. Next up, it's also very hard to find and keep your favorite show if you want to watch it through. Oftentimes, streaming services pass these favorite shows along from one to the other, and then you end up missing out on watching something halfway through, or you go to return to a favorite show of yours and it's gone. Years ago, shows like American Dad and Family Guy were both available on Netflix, and I used to watch them all the time. But slowly they started taking away seasons here and there, and not too long after, both shows were gone altogether. One of the newer changes that have come to these streaming services as of late is that advertisements are now on the lower paid tiers for a lot of the different providers like Netflix and Amazon Prime. And often for various reasons, sometimes politically correct ones, certain episodes of a certain TV series may just be completely removed from a series, or sometimes even an existing show or film is edited with the so-called problematic scenes being removed. You know, one other thing that really bothers me about these streaming services is that so much of the content that they put out nowadays is absolute garbage. And it's not to say that there isn't anything good on these streaming services, there obviously are, but what I find is that a lot of the, especially in-house made content at these streaming services, they're kind of like social media clickbait content. They try to draw you in by using the intellectual property of one of your favorite franchises, making some spin-off show that's largely just junk. And I guess it's just the case with everything related to the internet. Of course, there are really good pieces of quality on there, but so much is filler and junk. And in a world full of so much junk, so much candy in our media, you have to be a little bit more intentional with how and what you choose to consume. So just about a year ago, I made a video on this channel talking about how I was choosing to be more intentional with my media consumption by giving up streaming services and watching VHS tapes. What really drove this was that I was sick of trying to find all of my favorite movie titles between all the different streaming services they were spread out on. So rather than going any further with that pursuit, I decided to cut it all together and instead start intentionally collecting VHS tapes. And I love watching these tapes. I have this retro tube TV with the bunny ears on top as well, and I love just the sound of popping one of these in and sitting down with my girlfriend and watching a movie like this. Now, I've talked about this before, the idea of injecting some friction within your processes. So certain things you can kind of sift through what is worthwhile doing and what is worthwhile overcoming that friction in order to get done, and what is just worth leaving behind. Rather than just going on Netflix and seeing what its algorithm has decided that I'm going to watch tonight, I like to open my drawer, sift through my options which are available to me, and pick my favorite film in that moment. Now, I don't have a lot of VHS tapes. I only have about 50 titles, I would say. But for me, having a tight, curated catalog of things like that, I'm not watching movies every single day. I read a lot at night, so I'm only really watching a movie once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. So even with once a week, having 50 titles, I'm not gonna have to watch a movie more than once in the course of a year if I don't want to. So I feel like that gives me plenty of options, and I know these are all my favorites anyway, so I'm going to enjoy them when I revisit them. Recently, I have made a change to how I'm collecting my physical media, and I couldn't be happier, and that is by picking up some DVDs. You know, when I made that video on VHS, a lot of people were telling me, you should be collecting Blu-rays or you should be collecting DVDs, but you should not be collecting VHS. And I didn't really see the point of that, because I don't care that the quality is like worse or that it's going to degrade maybe faster. Like, it's here for a good time, not a long time. That's just how I felt about it. I liked having the collection that I had. They were all classic movies. I love just holding that media, seeing the box and the art that the VHS cases had back in the day. It's just a lot of fun for me, so I didn't really think I needed anything more. But recently I have been picking up some DVDs, and I even got a cheap DVD player at a thrift store and hooked it up to my TV as well. The first reason why I decided to start collecting DVDs again was because I wanted to get some TV shows. Having the VHS collection is great because it's a small, curated collection of movies I love, but the one thing that I was missing was shows. Now, you could get certain shows on VHS, but just because of the limitations of the format, you weren't able to get a whole season on one set. It was broken up like little clumps of episodes on each tape. And it was around that missing of my favorite TV shows, I had a little bit of an inkling to return to streaming just so I could access those titles once again. But again, I came back to that same old issue with streaming services, is that maybe if I had 5 shows that I really wanted to watch, they were spread over 4 or 5 different streaming services, and I was just not going to pay that money to watch them. And who knows how long they're even going to be there anyway. So I decided it was good to take matters into my own hands. I headed to my local thrift store and I decided to see what they had in stock. And guys, I gotta say, DVDs right now is such a good value proposition. You get so much for what you're paying. So this is just some of my humble collection of DVDs which I've found in the last couple of months. I've got classic Simpsons and Family Guy, King of the Hill too. I've got Friends and I've got Seinfeld. And all of this was like 35 bucks. And I'm not kidding, my local thrift store was selling these for $5.99 a piece. And I brought a 20% off coupon, so I was getting them for $4.50. When these DVD sets came out, they were like $30 or $40 a piece. You're getting like 15 to 20 episodes of each of your favorite shows, and I'm only paying about $5 a piece for them. There's no ads, the media is presented as intended, and it's not going anywhere. So it's pretty good value. I got like 5 of my favorite shows, various seasons of each, for like 3 months of the average streaming service. And value aside, guys, there's just something so special about holding this stuff in your hands. There's something about the physicality of just looking at these things and having that physical media physical. Of course, streaming services are very convenient and it's awesome to have all of that media in one place where you can access it wherever you want. But that feeling of flipping through the DVD sets included booklet, or just looking at the cover art, or even the art on the discs, or even just going through the menu screen on some of these old DVDs. It's just so fun. It's like a little world of its own to get you into the movie before you watch. And that's just something that streaming services, pun intended, can't touch. And guys, the second thing that I really love about DVDs is the fact that you can still get them and rent them at your local library. Now, no, this might not be the case for every single person who watches this video, but many libraries still have and readily are renting DVDs. I live in the city of Toronto and we have a huge library system and we have a huge inventory of DVDs. Even some of the newest releases that are put out on DVD end up in the library system sooner or later, and you can rent them free of charge. It's only been in the last year or two that I've actually been using the library system since I've been here in the city, but I've been enjoying it so much. I'm constantly getting out books. I'm even getting CDs out to listen to, and now I can readily rent movies. Now, the great thing about this is that it gives you most of the benefits of a streaming service. You're able to have access to a lot more media than you would ever be able to afford or even maybe want to hold in your home at one given time, but you're able to get all of that for free. Lately, my girlfriend and I have been working through Wes Anderson's movie catalog, and we've been renting each of those films through our local library for free, and we're so happy that we have access to that. So please go and check out your local library to see if they have DVDs that you can rent and enjoy, because you're going to be able to get your DVD watching journey off to a start with no money invested. So guys, I think you really need to consider getting into DVD collecting once again. It doesn't have to be a huge collection. It can be a small and very intentionally, as I said, curated collection of titles that you love and that you don't want to live without. And you can get that started for very, very little money invested. You know, with my VHS collection, I paid an average of like 50 cents per tape. I got this here TV at a garage sale for $5 and I paid $12.99 for my VCR as well. The DVD player I just got a few weeks ago. Previously, I'd been tapping it into my TV through my computer with its disk drive, and it was just a big pain. So I decided to go look for one, and after doing some poking around, I was able to find this really good Sony DVD player for only $6.99. So with the DVD player included and all of these titles as well, I'm in less than 50 bucks. And I think that's a pretty good way to go in order to just ensure that your favorite titles are secure. You don't need a streaming service. You don't need to be on that constant drip of a subscription cost in order to watch your favorite shows. If you find yourself just returning to the same 1 or 2 or 3 titles time and time again, see if you can just get those titles on DVD. You can get them at the library, and there's plenty of used options available for very cheap if you want to buy them as well. Even if you're buying new, if you check at places like Walmart, sometimes in their bargain bin, you're able to find complete series of shows for only like $15 or $20. And I don't see this as a one or the other thing where I keep the DVDs or I keep the VHS tapes. I see them as a complement to one another, just because VHS is great for having single titles, for watching movies and things like that. I love the cover art. I love the format. It pairs very nicely with my little TV that I have over my shoulder. But DVDs are just so much more efficient as far as fitting tons of episodes of a show into a very small form. And I appreciate that about DVDs. So I see a place for both in my media collection. But I am being intentional about keeping that media collection pretty much still limited to that one drawer. It's just getting pretty Tetrised in there in order to make it all fit. But that is where the public library comes in. It allows me to supplement and get a little bit of extra titles when I just want to watch a movie, maybe just one time because I haven't seen it before and I don't want to keep it permanently in my collection. The library slides in really nicely there. And that is about it for today, folks. Just a few reasons why I think you should consider picking up some DVDs here in 2024 or even into 2025. I think that this is going to be the way to go forward, intentionally keeping media in our lives, keeping it in arm's reach so that we're not just spending our entire lives kind of binging whatever the algorithm gives to us. We're more intentionally watching the things that actually mean something to us, that we find entertaining, that we find nostalgic, that we find inspiring. It's a lot more fun when you get to choose. So I hope you consider my thoughts, and I hope you found this video interesting. Do you have a physical media collection that you've been working on? Maybe movies or books or music? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.